A super scam? Are you on guard? Interest rates in the USA, how low can they go? And should we be looking for a black swan? I'm Peter Switzer.
I'm Paul Ricard.
And we're mad about money. Hey, I didn't muck up the introduction yet.
No, you did well, Peter. You got that right.
Okay, let's go to the first topic. Super scam. A bunch of plonkers in Melbourne have actually got into Australian Super, Host, all these well-known funds, and they've rifled members' funds. Only about $10 million affected, but still, it's a big worry, Paul, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think the whole issue of cybersecurity, Peter, is a big issue. And big institutions, super funds, banks have really got to be on their guard. And I think you as consumers need to be on your guard too, to make sure that the money you've got in your super or your bank account is actually in train and it's 100% secure.
What cheeses me off, Paul, is that no one seems to care that there are people in certain countries around the world, and I won't name them because they're in Africa. I'd probably be accused of Africanizing, whatever. But the thing is this, why doesn't someone do something about the fact that there are people out there trying to terrorise people's incomes, their businesses? Because if super funds like Australian Super are affected, what could a small business do to protect their bank accounts and their files?
A big issue, Peter, and I think a tale for all of us as consumers to be on our guard. Look, the issue though, I think for consumers though, is what should you be doing? What's the trigger for your super statement? I mean, I think you see this as being a call to action for people with their superannuation.
Precisely.
What are the actions that people should do?
Yeah, that's why I wrote this morning. People should check their balance to make sure because their balances should be going up. This has been a good year for the stock market, therefore super balances are going up. You should check that you're not being charged too much. I think if you're paying more than 1%, you better have the best performing super fund in the country. And I think you have to make sure you've got the right investment option. I've met people who are in conservative options and they wonder why they're only getting 3 or 4%. It's because they tick the box on conservative. So I think this is the perfect time to look after a very valuable asset, which superannuation is.
Yeah, it is, Peter, and you should have got a statement in the last couple of months. Every super fund sends out an end-of-year statement. That's the time to go back. A lot of super funds now give you online access as well, and you can see the dollars going up every single week or fortnight, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I would buy this book only because I wrote it. It's the only reason why I'm endorsing it, and it teaches you how to really get the best out of your super.
Yeah,
Join the Rich Club. Join the Rich Club. All right, that was a bit excessive over promotion. Let's go to the big story overnight. Big story overnight is the US will determine whether they should cut interest rates or not, the central bank. What do you reckon, Paul?
Yeah, the US Federal Reserve currently meeting, and we'll get an answer, I think, about 2 a.m. our time, Peter, tomorrow morning. Look, I think the US Federal Reserve is going to cut. And that's pretty much expected. If they don't cut,
Donald Trump will kill them.
Donald Trump will kill them, and the market will really go through a hissy fit. I think what the market's really looking at is the words and the so-called dot plot. What does it mean around?
What's the dot plot? The normal people.
Yeah, the dot plot is where each of the Fed governors who actually sit on what's called the Federal Open Market Committee are actually asked to actually say where they think the Federal Reserve interest rate will be 1 year out, 2 years out, 3 years out. Their best guess.
Okay.
And so the dot plot is actually where they plot. They don't name which governor, but they actually plot all the governors to show what the range of estimates are.
So a bit like pin the tail on the donkeys.
Like pin the tail on the donkey. And they publish this in their minutes. So you can actually see how their expectations as a group of people are changing. Yeah. And the dot plot becomes the best guide to thinking, well, where a rate's going to be. At least this is what the governors, the people setting rates, think. Don't do that in Australia, unfortunately. That'd be a great thing for the Australian Reserve Bank.
It would be, yes.
But everyone looks at the dot plot. So, long story short, it's probably less about the cut tomorrow. It's more about what they say in terms of the expectation is there going to be a third rate cut this year? Yeah. That's the market's really on edge about that. And just what does it mean? So is this sort of the move down and that's it? Or are there more rate cuts to come after tomorrow's rate cut?
I think I heard some dogs growling then as well. Anyway,
look, they said it was getting boring. So
on the subject of dogs and black swans, though we weren't talking about black swans, I want to talk about black swans. Do you think there is something out there?
Just explain what a black swan is.
Well, okay. A black swan is something that emerges out of nowhere that really just rattles the stock market and rattles global economies. On once upon a time, there was no such thing as a black swan until until the colonists.
There are black swans, they exist, right?
But they're not in Europe.
And they're all white in Europe, aren't they?
Allegedly. Anyway, we are the home of black swans. In fact, I have a place in Albert Park in Melbourne, and the lake there is filled with black swans. Every time I walk past it, I get
Okay,
spooked.
let's get back to the subject at hand. The Black Swan is an event we can't foresee that shakes the share market,
Yeah,
right?
it used to be called the X Factor.
The X Factor.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so
Good old days of TV,
that's
right?
right. But the question
A lot
is,
of our millennials wouldn't know what the X Factor
no,
is.
that's right, exactly right. But the big question is, if it's not seeable, how can we see it? Take it away, Paul.
I'm not sure I can answer that, Peter. Look, I'm not in the rhetorical question
Yeah.
business, but you answer it.
Okay, the bottom line is, a lot of people say, and I often say, this time things are different. And then people laugh, say, oh, they always say this time things are different. Things are different. Interest rates have never been so low. We've never ever talked about negative interest rates. But the really big difference, which I think will keep a black swan away for a long time, is the fact that central banks are right in the middle of this. Usually they're asleep at the wheel, and all of a sudden something happens, a market crashes, and someone says, you guys better do something about it. They waited till September 2008 in Australia to cut interest rates, but the you-know-what hit the fan in November 2007. So I think the fact that the reserve banks or central banks right around the world are actually doing QE, they're using negative interest rates, and they're watching for what's going wrong means that the likelihood of a black swan turning up is low. Something crazy like a war could come, and that would be a black swan. If there's a real war between the USA and Iran, that could rock a lot of.
But your point is the central banks are right in there. They're active. They're actually trying to manage the markets.
Exactly, and they never do that.
And that's actually a very positive and bullish sign for the bull run actually continuing.
Yeah, it might cause a problem down the track, but it means that this bull market could go on a lot longer than a lot of people think. I'm Peter Switzer.
I'm Paul Rickard.
And we're mad about money.